Hey guys, welcome to the live interview with Jerome. Just getting set up here. Just give me a couple minutes to just get everything going. I start these a little bit early just so that I can get everyone in here. Just going to get Jerome into this interview here, and we'll get started right away. So got this getting set up here. But anyway, so Jerome is a guy that I know from some of the networking that I do. He's out in Arizona. Well-known property developer, investor in the property game for a long time. Real big earner. He also does classes on real estate, so we're just going to get him in the group. Thanks for joining us early here. We're going to get started at 4. I'm just working my way through, but I'm going to go over all the ins and outs of real estate investment and just make sure that you guys have a better understanding of being a broker, investor, property developer, all the above, and how it goes down in basically in that whole entire segment of industry. So just give me 1 second here, and I am just chatting with Jerome right now on the computer. Give me 1 moment. So just waiting for him to accept the invite here, and I'll get us going. So, 1 second. He's just getting onto the computer and just joining in. Thanks for joining us, everybody. But again, we're just going to get started in a second here. What we're going to do is we're going to get this going at 4 o'clock. I'm going to get everything set up first, so thanks for joining us, everybody. Again, Jerome, he's a good guy. He's a guy that I met out at Thrive. For those who aren't familiar with Thrive, it's an event out in Las Vegas where a lot of entrepreneurs from all over the country come in, and they basically go over different ideas to growing their businesses, and basically all of us are involved in what's called making money matter, which is where we're putting our businesses in place to really affect the world in a positive manner, and not just make money, but actually make it in a positive way for everybody involved. So to tell you a little bit about Jerome, since 1993 he's been a self-employed entrepreneur. He was inspired by his parents' hard work, and he's always had a hunger for growing businesses. And he originally was in direct sales. He found team building techniques and then got into real estate. And then by his mid-20s, he moved into managing his own 6-figure business. In 97, he began to explore outside the direct sales, where he pioneered a construction company that ended up moving him into the 7-figure business. And Jerome is just about to be used multi-use properties, and I'm going to let him tell you a little more about himself. But over the course of that time, he has done multiple businesses and is involved in all sorts of investments and everything. So just give me 1 second here. Jerome's popping in. But Jerome, do you see the link that I sent you over?
Turn you the other way. Hey, Shawn. How are you?
How you doing today, man?
I'm doing really well. And yourself?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Just here at the office.
Yeah, happy to join you. Happy to join everybody. And I'm out running around, and I'm gonna pull over here and join you so that we can develop some good information for everybody that has joined us on Facebook today, Shawn.
Excellent. So I took, since I'll just start with talking about who you are and let's
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Jerome Maldonado, and Shawn, thank you so much for inviting me and having me on the live today. Really appreciate it. Just a quick intro of who I am and what I'm doing. I think Shawn did a great job of introducing me. I got started in business about 25 years ago, and now actually just a little over 25 years. And for those of you guys who are watching this and maybe are not self-employed, or maybe don't really aspire to be self-employed, or maybe you are self-employed and you're just getting started, I didn't know 25 years ago that I was going to be self-employed my whole life. I mean, I think I had an entrepreneurial spirit my entire life. I was one of those kids that, just like you hear about a lot of entrepreneurs, was out selling newspapers on my skateboard when I was a kid, and I was out mowing lawns around my neighborhood, doing car stereo installs and tinting windows on the side. And I think that ability to earn income on the side by doing my own thing that was commission-based always intrigued me as a child. But I was still taught to go to school and get a good education, and I did. I was in pharmacy school in the early 90s, and I went to college, did the whole college thing. And one summer I was burnt. I was spent with school. I was doing intern rotations. And Shawn, I'll tell you that by accident, I really got my first introduction to the entrepreneurial world. I said, I was bodybuilding at the time, and I was wrestling in college, and I thought, what better to take a break from school and work than to just go work in a gym. And so I answered a health and fitness ad of all things. And instead of it being a gym that I was going for an interview for, I landed up looking at a direct sales company they were selling health and wellness products and water filters at the time, back when only Evian and distilled water through the radiator in your car were on the shelves, right? And so I got started in direct sales. I loved the concept, and I think this is where the entrepreneurial spirit really started within me, and the what if I can make it work. And so I indebted myself into the direct sales industry because I love the fact that I could generate money off of the efforts of other people. I can build residual income, and I can build an income base larger than I could doing anything else I was doing in school. And so I was horrible at it. I wasn't an overnight success by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I went back, did another semester of school, and left school about 3 semesters from graduating. I did go back later and finish my degree, but I left to pursue this awesome career of direct sales. And from that is where everything else has developed, from all the other companies and everything that we've done from that point forward over the last 25 plus years.
Excellent. Yeah. I can relate to that. As a paper, so
yeah.
Definitely can go there. So let me ask you the next question. Is my phone coming through choppy?
No, you're coming in fine.
Okay, good. So tell us a little bit about what the difference
You broke up a little bit there, Shawn. So tell us the differences of what now?
Just tell us what different businesses you've owned over there.
The different businesses that I own now, and I've owned over the years, we've owned a lot of stuff, Shawn. I'll tell you, I'm like everybody, So if you're watching this and you're sitting back going, man, I just want something to work. We've been very blessed to have a lot of businesses work for us, but every business over the last 20 plus years, Shawn, has been work. And I think I'm just like everybody else. I've always looked for an easier way to develop wealth in my life. And when I look back at it, every time I do something, although everything's done well, the one thing that has really done the best has been our real estate and the stability of our construction development company. But we've owned everything from restaurants. When the recession hit, I drew money out of real estate and I got into the franchise business. We were a multi-unit owner of Subway stores. And so I learned a lot about franchising. I learned a lot about the ins and outs of developing a multi-unit establishment through Subway. We've owned dance schools. We've owned beauty salons. We started our own brand in coffee shops and juice bars called The Perfect Blend years back that we later sold. We've owned, we have ownership in energy companies right now. We're a junior partner with Ty Lopez and Alex Meir and Mentor Box and Knowledge Society, which we also have courses on, and grass-fed brands. So we're diversified. And we're in the construction development business. We also have a concrete company, which we've owned for many years, for over 20 plus years. And we have a real estate company, and we ran it as a full brokerage at one point in time, Shawn, just like you're doing right now. And when the recession hit, we got rid of our associate brokers, which are like your agents in most states. But here in New Mexico, we don't create agencies, so we call them associate brokers. And now we just house our in-house transactions. You know, we've done over $100 million in just in-house transactions on properties that we've turned, owned, and have ownership of. And so really we manage and take care of, our brokerage now just takes care of and facilitates our own properties. And so we have experience in retail. We have retail buildings, multifamily buildings. We do a lot of land development. And so those are all separate LLCs and businesses within the housing structure of the larger corporations and so forth. So that's just in a nutshell. And I'm sure there's some stuff I'm missing in there, but in a nutshell, that's what we've done and what we have going on.
I would imagine it's easy to miss something in that type of situation.
Yeah. There's no lack of entertainment on a daily basis. That's for sure.
So let me ask you the next question. As a real estate investor, but as a brokerage develops the land, what are the biggest challenges? Where would you recommend someone start?
You got to start exactly like I did. One of the biggest things, I watch these courses online. I watch these advertisements of other people that are selling courses. And I'll tell you, Shawn, I try to compare myself to them sometimes. And, and I sat back and I said, what really separates me from these other guys? And I said, what really separates me from these guys is the long game. I look at these guys, even some of these guys that are on network television programs, and they're so full of shit. And the reason I say that is because most people that are watching this, I mean, let's really focus on reality of life, okay? Reality of people. With the exception of a small margin of maybe some young adults that are getting out of college, high school, or are in a position in their life where they're transitional and they have the ability to make some changes. I don't know about you, Shawn, but I need food on my table. I need a roof over my head, and I need income coming in. And the real estate game is an expensive game. And, for most people getting started, I think the biggest misconception is that they can get into real estate and make it a full-time endeavor. And I'm talking about the investment end, not like what you're doing. They can make what you're doing as a broker a full-time endeavor, because then you can work that. But that's really what it takes, And so a lot of these guys are saying, hey, I flip and wholesale and stuff. The reality is that stuff is work, just like anything. It's like a full-time job. And so what separates us from everybody else is the long game. And so everything that we teach, everything that we've done really contributes to exactly the question you asked, Shawn, in how to get started. Is you got to get started someplace, and you got to get started small, because most people can't get started big, And the reality is the way you get started is with a little bit of finances, whether you borrow it, whether you do a syndication, whether you self-fund a small amount, but you get started with one property. You don't have to get started with this mass conglomerate of properties. We didn't get started like that. I didn't have no money. My parents didn't fund anything that we had going. We literally got started with nothing. And I remember my cousin at one point in time, he's a principal for a high school. And he said, Jerome, before he became a principal, Shawn, he came to me and he said, Jerome, I just value your advice, because he goes, really, out of all the people I've ever met in my entire life, all my friends, all my colleagues, my cousins, my family, everybody I've ever met, he goes, you are truly the only one that I really know that has really done it 100% on his own, without financial funding from anybody, where someone gave me a loan or invested in me. I mean, everything that we've done was 100% self-funded to get started. So you want to talk about coming from broke. I drove myself into over 6 figures in debt and had like a 400 and something credit score in the 90s from direct sales. And even though I started making 6 figures wasn't enough money to drive me out of the debt hole that I created for myself back in the early 90s. And so it took, I'll tell you, it took belief and faith to crawl out of it. And, but really we started from absolutely nothing. So, like my cousin said, Jerome, I really value that because you really truly started from nothing. So if you're looking at this and you want to know how to get started, you have to create something in your life where you have at least a little bit of financial stability. You can't get started in this game with absolutely nothing going on. So you need some type of cash flow. Now that's either from a job, that's either from, if you're in sales or you have a full-time job, full-time endeavor, or you're wholesaling full-time or you're a broker full-time. You need to start someplace with some type of financial funding, because if you don't, the real estate game can get expensive. And if you're financing things, Shawn, a good way to lose that and a good way to fail in it is by not being able to service your debt that you have. And for those of us that have to get debt in order to get started, you need to have something that you have going on the side to be able to service that debt. And you got to be able to live humble, and you got to humble yourself to be able to get started modestly and live below your means a little bit in order to know where you want to go long term. And that's what's hardest for most people, Shawn, is that they have to humble themselves down. They got to live modest, and most people have a really hard time doing that.
So if you were to pick out three, agent, broker, developer, investor,
Nothing's easy. None of them. You got to do all of them. You got to do all of them, man. I mean, I'd sit here and I'd lie to you if I told you that one is better than the other. I mean, I could tell you what I would prefer doing the most, which is the one that's the least amount of headaches and the one that produces the.
have a little freeze up going on here. Jerome, I'm losing you right now. Not sure if you can hear me, but you're
Okay, there we go. Am I coming in okay, Shawn? Am I coming in broken when you guys are outside of that one spot, or am I coming in with clarity?
You were clear, and then suddenly there was just a drop.
Okay. So, anyways, to reiterate on that, Shawn, briefly, all of them are work. And I'd be lying to you if I sat here and I told you that any of the above were easy. And really what it takes in this business is you got to be diversified. You got to be able to withstand the ups and downs in the market. There's fluctuation in the market, as we all know. No one's exempt from it. No one is talented enough to be exempt from it. Obviously, the longer you live the market and the more you educate and listen to people that have lived the market, and you follow the lead of mentors and people that have lived through times like the recession or the downfall in the 80s during the Reagan administration. If you look at that stuff and you go back in time, even if you look at the stock market, the same exact thing. You got to know how to weather those things. And the way you weather that stuff, Shawn, is you really weather it through diversification, knowing how to hit different sectors of the market. And that's why we're so diversified. People will ask me all the time, Jerome, what do you focus on in real estate? And my answer to them is, shit, anything that makes money at that time. And it's the God honest truth.
I'm like cut out again right now, buddy. Jerome, if you can hear me, you're cutting out right now. I think I lost Jerome. Hopefully he sounds back on. Sorry about that, everybody. One of the things that's going on is he's on Wi-Fi service. So hopefully he shows right back up here. As soon as I see him back on the list, I'll be sure to get him back in the broadcast. I'm sorry about the delay here. Hopefully he shows back up in the list soon here. 1 second, I'm on my computer here to see if I can catch him in here again. Lost Jerome. Officially. Sorry about this, guys. Gonna have to take a brief delay here, but basically, as you heard Jerome speak, and here he is again. He just got back in. Let me see if I can get him back in.
Hey, Shawn, sorry about that. My phone got hot in the sun, so it kicked me off. So thanks for keeping them entertained for a few minutes. Go ahead and start back up, Shawn, wherever I lost you at.
Yeah, so let's talk on the next level, which is as a developer. When you're looking at land, what are the most important features?
I believe that your profitability in every project as a developer is really in your land. It's not in the building. It's not in the property itself. It's not in the building. It's not in the facility itself. It's in the land itself. And I've always told people this in our developments. Whether we've built brand new retail buildings before, we've built home subdivisions, residential, single family homes, custom home subdivisions, and it all starts with the financial feasibility of getting into the land correctly. So what I look for is I look for my biggest expenses in the land. Does it have utilities? How far is electric? How far is water? How far is gas? Is there sewer? Do I need septic tanks, or is there sewer close by? That was a big expense on a big project a few years ago, and where we couldn't put septic tanks. Obviously, on commercial projects, we need to do sewer, and so how much is hydrology? How much tractor work is going to be done? Is the land level? Is it going to need a lot of infill? You could spend $1 million on infrastructure development or more, depending on how big the project is. And so what I look for is I look for the flattest pieces of land with the least amount of infill and tractor work needed. And I always do my research. I'll tie up a piece of property that I really like, but I won't commit to closing on it until I've done my research on the property. And so there's ways to do that we teach by doing first right of refusals, going to contract with it with contingencies. And so we go in, and that's the stuff we look for. Well, the property's tied up. We've invested a little bit of time and a little bit of money into the property so that we make sure we have an educated understanding of the costs associated with developing that property. And I'd rather lose $200,000 in pre-infrastructure development than $2 million buying a piece of property that's not feasible to do what we want to do, and then land up losing it on the long haul and not finding out till 2 years, 3 years down the road. So just doing your homework is most important.
That's something I learned when I worked in real estate, where people would do the same thing. They put a deposit. They might walk away. But like they said, I'd rather lose $100,000 than
Yeah, absolutely. And I know people are looking at it and listening to this, they're going, holy shit, I can't afford to lose $100,000. And so understand, it's all in perspective to whatever you're doing. And, you got to understand, we've been in this game for over 20 years. And so don't let that discourage you. You're not going to, for most people watch this, I know there's people that are probably on here that can afford that, but majority is not. And so, but we've built to that. And so it's all feasible. It's all feasible. Right.
And that can be scaled in percentage of 10,000 on 100,000 or 20,000 on 200,000.
Yep. It's better to lose $2,000 than $20,000.
Yeah. And it could be buying a family house rehab, locking it up to make sure that you can do what you think you can do before committing.
Exactly, and I'll give you an example. We haven't been in the flipping game for years, although we've done it in the past and we've made money doing it. We were picking one up for content producing purposes, and I'll tell you, we got into it. We put a contingency based on inspections. We had the property tied up, and we found out that the roof was going to need to be fully replaced, and it was going to cost $23,000 to do so. So we asked for a price reduction from the bank. They don't want to reduce the price. They want to keep our $3,000 in earnest money. Well, I'll tell you, I'd rather lose $3,000 in earnest money than $23,000 in a roof that we weren't anticipating replacing. So same example, just on a smaller scale.
Excellent. So let me ask you another question. I know we've got a lot of language and money people here. as a money person or a lender, what can they do to make themselves more desirable to a guy like yourself that's out there looking to do development?
As a lender and as a broker, being open-minded and listening to your clients. I think that so many lenders and so many brokers get tied into doing things their way, and they forget to listen to their customer and their clients and their clients' needs. You really need a lender and you need a broker that really thinks outside the box, because there's nothing traditional about being an investor. There's so many unforeseen circumstances, and with banking laws changing regularly and the implementation of the CFPB and the changes that the Federal Reserve implements regularly in the banking laws and how they're done and implemented, you really need somebody that that has that diversification. So I think, one, they need to stay educated in the game. One, first and foremost, they need to be current on their current banking laws and what's going on. They need to be reading articles and publications and really staying up on the changes that are being made regularly when legislation changes laws in the middle of the year, after the legislative sessions like in February and March and so forth. That kind of stuff is super important to developers. You guys need to be our educators. I try to stay educated in that stuff, but I stay educated through my professionals. And so when I find somebody who is well versed, they know the banking laws, they're open-minded and they're diversified enough with their own personal education. Because my answer to people, I say, oh, well, this lender doesn't want to do it to me. And I tell them, screw them. Find another one. There's a lender out there that knows how to get this thing done. I know there is. You just need to interview more lenders. You need to interview more brokers. And so with that being said, I think the biggest takeaway for them would be to stay well-versed, open-minded. Don't get stuck in your rut of what you do for traditional buyers. You've got to be open-minded to diversifying and keeping different avenues and options open for your developers and stuff, because at different point in times, their cash flow is going to be different. Their debt-to-income ratio is going to be different. The way they service debt is going to be different. And so you have to find somebody who's diversified and willing to work for that deal and to help you find a way to make that deal go through and how to make it work.
Excellent. So I'm going to ask you kind of basically the same question, but as a real estate agent, how do I make myself more desirable to an investor or developer to work with you?
Same thing, Shawn, same exact thing. You got to stay open-minded. The biggest problem with brokers, the reason I got my broker's license is because when I was younger, I would go to brokers and I would tell them what I was doing, and I was trying to invest. And I wasn't doing investments like this at that time. I was just trying to buy rental homes. But they were closed-minded. All they were after was their commissions. And so they wanted you to offer a price that would be sellable to the seller and would facilitate a deal. And it's not like that. If you guys are wanting to work with investors, you got to understand that, one, you're going to work a little harder on the front end, but once you understand what that investor is looking for and you understand that investor and you understand how they work, you'll get more regular business from them and they'll keep your family fed. And what happens is they think short term, and it's the syndrome that most people have is they have that short term mentality. They don't want to put in the front end work that it takes to get to know their client. And every investor is a little different. They do take time, and a lot of us are a pain in the ass, Shawn, because we're working on margins and we know what we want, we know what we need in order to make it profitable. Because at the end of the day, Shawn, you don't go and turn the key to the door of your office every morning to work for free, do you?
No way.
No way. And nobody does. And we don't either. But yet the municipalities, the city and county municipalities, they're not motivated by the financial returns that we make, but shit, we don't go to work every day and put our ass on the lines to go work for free. So what brokers have to understand is that we don't go to work every day for them to make their 3% or 4% commission either. We go to work every day so we can make a profit. So we have ourselves in mind in our business and the viability of our business in mind first. And if all they're thinking about is their commission and they're not willing to put in the time and effort to do multiple offers on deals in order to make a viable offer work for the developer and the investor, then they're cutting themselves short of the long game. Because the long game, once you find a good broker that'll work with you and that works for you, and you understand what that investor is looking for, and you have multiple investors, and each investor might be different, but if you have a bunch of different investors, that'll feed your family, it'll feed your long game tenfold over one client here and there. And so the broker has to be open-minded. They have to put their ego in their back pocket. I don't know how many broke, egotistical agents there are out there. They drive me crazy, but they drove me so crazy back in the day that I finally said, hell with this. I'm going to go become an associate broker, and I'm going to go get my broker's license and do my due diligence, because I don't want to deal with them anymore. And so we've done that, and we did that, and we still do. We still run our own transactions in-house for that very reason.
Yeah, I hear you there, because I work in the industry and I'm hiring these people, and it's amazing. Some have so much wanting to put a deal together. Client relations don't matter.
Yeah, they have to understand it's work in the beginning. You're gonna put extra time. That first deal, it's not gonna be a hand me. It's not gonna be a lay me down. It's, there's some due diligence to pay. There's no reward to short-term thinking, and they have to be willing to put in the time and the work, man, and they have to be open-minded to it.
Yeah. So let me ask you the next question. When you're developing land, do you tend to build to order, or do you tend to build and then list?
No, we've done both, but typically 99% of what we do is we build spec. We build for us, and then we sell it once it's done. And I do that because we have our full-time construction company. We service customers all day long, and build-to-suits take a lot more time. And so we don't do build-to-suits, and we've only done a few of them over the years. It doesn't fit our business model. So what we do is in our own subdivisions, or we'll buy single lots when we're in between subdivisions, and we build spec, and we develop spec. When we've done our retail centers, we build for us, we build and hold. And then once they're leased and filled, we sell. And then same thing in the residential sector. We build and we go out, and we really try to go out, Shawn. If you guys follow our content online, I try to go out and supersede what's being done on the market, give people more for their money. And so when people see our product, it's a lay me down in common sense to say, yes, we're buying this house. And so you got to have a superior product in order to build spec like we do, and to move them as fast as we move them. But no, most of what we do is built in-house and built to sell, not built to order.
Makes sense. So let me ask you a question for the insurance. With so many businesses, so many liabilities, how do you choose a real estate agent, and how often do you guys meet with liability checks?
We shop insurance companies about once every 2 years. Unless I don't like the agent that we're dealing with, we'll do it every year. Liability is a big thing, Shawn. The more you grow, the more exposure you have. We've had litigations and lawsuits. No one's exempt from them. People try to hit our errors and omissions insurance, and they try to hit our liability insurance, and they're frivolous lawsuits, stuff that can be fixed. It's just, you're going to run into people like that out there as you grow in your exposures. I mean, we went for years and years and years with no lawsuits. And as we've grown and we've gotten bigger, and people know who we are and know what type of exposure, they choose litigating, and no one wins in those deals. So you got to try to make sure that you guys talk to your agents. You don't save money by saving money on your insurance. I'd rather have all my parameters and my corners covered, and lay it on the table with your agents and let them know exactly what you're doing to make sure you have coverage. We got hit with a lawsuit on a small drainage deal that cost us $250,000 in attorney's fees over the course of a year and a half. And I'll tell you, the settlement went in our favor, but our E&O insurance, we found out, didn't cover us. It doesn't cover our own in-house transactions. It's basically worthless for us. It only covers transactions that we facilitate for customers and clients, and it doesn't cover us. So we had to get our own independent insurance above and beyond our E&O insurance, and that's stuff that people need to know. You got to have personal insurance umbrellas over yourself if you're going after bigger deals and you're doing bigger stuff, that you have more exposure, more liability. Because even if you're a corporation, attorneys know that you'll personally into the lawsuit, And if you don't have protection, then you're funding that lawsuit yourself, and you have a lot of exposure, personal liability exposure, and under the UPAs, which is the Unfair Practice Act, you could land up having to pay their attorney's fees if you're found guilty of whatever you're doing. And so you got to make sure that, one, you're doing things right, you're being honest, you're running an honest business, you can produce your paperwork. That reduces your liability over your insurance right there alone. But those of you guys who are in business, you guys need to go out and protect yourself with a personal umbrella policy that covers you personally, because even if you're a corporation, that doesn't exempt you personally from the lawsuit and UPA claims, the Unfair Practice Act claims. You need to go out and get umbrella policies of at least a couple $1,000,000. And it's stupid not to have them, Shawn. An umbrella policy on someone who owns a home and cars is like 40, 50 bucks a month. And it'll save you, hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and potentially millions of dollars in settlement fees if you do something wrong. And so everybody should have personal umbrella policies. They should have the right coverage for exactly what they're doing and facilitating in business. And you brokers out there, insurance people, your errors and omissions insurance, if you're doing your own deals, you need to understand that most E&O companies don't cover you on your own deals. You need to have an additional line of liability coverage over yourself as well. So that's my recommendation as far as insurance, and that's how we shop them.
Hey, I'm told I have an echo on a lot of people. Can you turn your speaker volume down?
Yeah.
Because I think what's happening is reverberating.
Is that better?
I think it's a little better.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the last things I wanted to ask you is, what keeps you motivated to work in so many businesses?
I think I was born hungry, Shawn. I don't know. My wife, everybody tells me when's enough. I don't know that I'll ever retire. And I don't know that I love what I do either. I enjoy doing this more than anything I think I could be doing. I don't think that anything in life's fun. People always say, go do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But as soon as you start doing what you love, then all of a sudden you start hating it. So the way I found love in what I do is I seem to love what I do more when it's producing large revenue. I think I love the challenge. I enjoy making money. I enjoy trying to get to different levels. I think when your business becomes not interesting anymore and you lose the interest in your business, I think you lose the motivation. Sometimes, as much as we hate the challenges, I think that's really what keeps us going. I think I've worked harder when I have opposition in my businesses, and I'm challenged. I'm faced with challenges more so than when things are going smooth. I think when things are going smooth, we get bored, and so we're always looking for more. And I think it's human nature, Shawn. I think we are hungry. I think there's lazy people out there, and if you're lazy, then I think you just need to go get a job and go work for somebody that, like Bill Gates says, I try to find lazy people to work for me because lazy people tend to find the easy way, the simplest way to do things, the easiest, and they're the most efficient people. But there's also a little turn to that too. You need to be smart and learn how to work smart and not just lazy either. But I think what continues to drive me, Shawn, is the challenge, for personal fulfillment, to see if I can challenge myself to get to that next level. And so, one, you got to stay hungry, and you got to want more. If that's not you and you're just comfortable doing what you're doing, I don't think that this is the business for you. I think you have to be somebody to do what we do for a living. You got to have a burning hunger inside to really stay motivated, and I think we are motivated by our oppositions in life. But faith keeps me going through it. With lack of faith, I don't think I would have ever gotten through the oppositions that we've went through, because we've went through a hell of a lot of ups and downs over the years, and it hasn't just been a glorious road. There's been ups and downs for sure, and it's faith that has held us together and held us in there more than anything.
Yeah. So I actually got bracelet on. So want results. Get off your ass. So
It's my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite one.
So just on a couple people how to get in touch with you, a little bit about your business, online. I posted a link to your website. Let people know.
Yeah, so one of the businesses I failed to mention is one of the most important businesses that we have going right now. It's our newest company. It's Zinra LLC. We own the Elite Real Estate Society and the Advanced Sales Formula. What I've done for everybody is taking all the knowledge, some of the small stuff that I've given you guys today, taking 25 years of my professional business and real estate experience, and we've put it into real life modules and training programs for people. And it's been awesome, Shawn. I'll tell you, man, the response has been incredible. I don't think I found anything more fulfilling that we've done so far that has really been really cool. We're making money, helping people make money. So really neat. If you guys go to jeromemaldonado.com, you can click on the link below that Shawn has, and then we'll put on the site. And you can find both the Elite Real Estate Society .com and the Advanced Sales Formula.com to find out a little bit more. And we have all kinds of free nuggets on there, tons of free PDFs, a lot of the forms that we use personally each day for LOIs, purchase agreements, addendums, all that stuff is on there as free bonus items with our courses. And our goal is to really just help people succeed doing this. It's not an easy game. It's a long game. If you guys want the real game, the ins and outs and how to really do what we've done and how we did it, then our program's for you. If you're looking for an easy road to make quick cash, our program's not for you. And I'm not going to sell you on it. I'm looking, what we're looking for, Shawn, is people really and honestly that want to do this, but they want to get rich for sure, or they want to at least make their life better for sure over the long game and really learn how to do this game the right way. And so that's what we're looking for. And if that's you and you want to learn more about it, hit us up online. You can go to our Instagram at Jerome Maldonado and the number 1. And that's our Instagram, or just Google, or just go to Facebook at Jerome Maldonado, and you'll see us on there. All our logos match, or on LinkedIn, or you can just visit our website directly at jeromemaldonado.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I look forward to catching up.
Yeah, Shawn, thanks for having me. Really appreciate you. I love what you're doing, and you guys are killing it up in the Northeast, and you guys are a great time of the year right now. And I wish you guys all the best, and to all your brokers, and you're following many blessings. You guys go out and you guys make it an incredible day. Go out and compound your success, and make it worth it while you're out there working.
Thanks, buddy. Talk to you. Have a good afternoon. We're going to take the video down about the different lapses in it, and then we're going to put it right back up.
Great. Appreciate you, Shawn. You guys all make it a great day.
Have a great day, Jerome.